Hey you guys, it's Angel. Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing today? I don't know. Today we're going to be doing another little haunted history type video. Jingle, say hi. The moment I whisper, the dog is quiet. The moment I'm loud, she's like, it's fair game, let's play. Like, no, it's not. But today we're going to be going over another haunted little history location. This place I actually tried to, but cannot go to because, as I said in the last video, it's closed now. And I gotta say, I was so upset because I've been to this place a bunch of times, so I have personal experience, but I've never pictured this place closing down, ever. So I wasn't going to do a video on it, but you know what? I still think that the tales are so good that we're going to keep it in. I had a little backup place I wanted to go to, but I did it too close to the holidays now and didn't do my research enough to realize what was closed and not. But yeah, everything else is just booked up for this season because everything else is super spooky. And not only that, it's just fancy places that are really hard to get into, apparently. So we're still going to talk about this one. I still think it has a really cool history, and I've been there myself. I can include a lot of nice, cool pictures for you guys that normally isn't super ASMR friendly because people have complained about that before. In my crime videos, I used to put photos and people were like, that's too distracting, stop. So free range now, I guess. Whatever. I can clap as much as... I'm noticing this is what I do when I talk loud. I clap. But anyways, we'll dive into the history of this one for you guys. It's another little pub. And if you guys like these, I might, again, film them for either next year or even anytime and actually book the places because most of them were restaurants, pubs. One was a hotel, which I would love for you to guess which one that was. But there's too many events right now that I can't capture them. But if you guys like these, specifically the next one that you'll see, you'll understand what it would kind of look like more of. But if you like these, I can totally make them. And I like making them. They're cool, but... yeah, anyway, drop the ball on that one, but this one is still a really good story. So today, look at that, already sitting down so early. Today, we're going to be talking about the haunted history and all spooky tales behind the Rose and Crown pub. So the Rose and Crown was a large neighborhood pub with a bustling outdoor patio that overlooked 4th Street, Southwest Calgary, downtown. There's multiple rooms, multiple levels, so you can enjoy lots of good times, great conversation, good vibe, that pub. That pub was so, like, really great. I'm so surprised it closed down. Personally, I was there apparently only 6 months before this place closed, and it was busy still. Like, it was midday that I went. I was visiting a friend, and she and I were catching up over a beer, and it was still very busy. But apparently, COVID really, really hurt their business. So ultimately, they made the decision to close the doors down, I think, of earlier this year, which is such a shame. But anyway, there's some extra surprises that always happen with this place. I'm interested to see who buys it next because, when it opens, we'll be going there. But yeah, there's a lot of people that would go in and out, but some that would never leave. Specifically, 3 ghosts that haunt the Rose and Crown pub. So a little bit of history behind this place. When you look at pictures of it, it just looks like a normal neighborhood pub, maybe an English pub, Scottish, whatever, like Irish. Just it has that old wood feel type thing, like a classic neighborhood pub. But it has quite an interesting history to it. So the Rose and Crown, also known as the Davidson House, was built in 1908 by David and Dora Davidson. Say that 3 times. David and Dora Davidson. David and Dora Davidson. According to the Beltline Heritage Group, the couple lived there until their deaths in 1921 and 1930, respectively. Their funerals were hosted in the home, which I guess was a popular thing to do at the time. So not weird. Not weird at all. But following Dora's death, a family member had lived in the house for 5 years before selling it over to a funeral home. Park Memorial and McInnes and Holloway operated out of the house between 1935 and 1986. And that was when it had ended up turning into the pub, the Rose and Crown. So because of the spooky little past that it has, it was a funeral home. People have died there. There's been a lot of sightings that people have said has been very spooky, very strange, inexplicable occurrences. And that is what has made this pub very enticing and mysterious to many people. And the servers, which I recall years ago talking to them about, which I'll try and remember a bit. But, Anyway, in addition to the people whose bodies ended up at the funeral home, there is a ghost of a little boy who is said to have died in that house, who is the most frequently encountered ghost, I suppose, and has been seen in photos, been captured on ghost tours where people have been there. So he has really made this place a destination, this little boy. But there are 3 of them, so we can talk about the boy first. So the little boy is the first ghost that has been told, and the story has been told for the history of this place. And it goes back to when this was a funeral home, actually, so not before. When the building was a funeral home, a family responsible as caretakers of the building lived on the 3rd floor. The spectral image of the little boy seen throughout the pub at various times, including stories of him being spotted lurking behind the furnace in the pub's basement, is actually where the cremations took place. So yes, this used to be a place where they would also burn bodies too. And it is believed that he lingers around there because he was either cremated there himself, or who knows, really. There isn't too much history of him. But there is repeated encounters with this little boy, specifically in the basement and sometimes upstairs in the 3rd floor. I personally would be terrified if I was in the basement, like say I'm a staff member and I looked at the furnace and there was a boy creeping. I think I'd actually run out of there. I would run. Oh, so fast. So anyway, there is images of him, which we will show later, where people are just taking a picture outside with their friends and he's there. Like it's very eerie, this little boy, and there's not much history to him. However, when you live in a crematorium, or not live, but when you previously are in a crematorium and you're making it an established business, there's going to be some little ghosties lingering around. I am sure. I guarantee it. And another being the lady in the big white dress and the middle-aged man. We got some creative ghost names here, hey? So a second ghost who's been described as a middle-aged woman, okay, they're both middle-aged, okay, is often seen wearing a white billowy dress. She has been reported over the years as being spotted in the pub, which is spooky. Okay. Why is it always, though, like, why are the female ghosts always dressed in white dresses? Is that what we just, like, choose to wear when we come back in? Did we all make a pact being like, if we linger, this is the uniform? Or, like, what is that? What is that? Like, okay. The third ghost, of course, as I stated, as being described as a similarly aged, nondescript man. Imagine that. You're a ghost. You came back and people refer to you as nondescript. That would be a little disappointing, wouldn't it? While the little boy is often the most seen ghost, which I mentioned, all three are responsible for odd sounds, people walking around upstairs, furniture being moved and scraped across the floor of the building when it's completely empty. And neighbors often say when they're looking across the street and it's not operating, lights will be flickering on and off in multiple locations at the same time. So that would imply it's more than just one person there, right? Spooky. Well, there's a lot of eerie photography that does back this up. One article says, during their visit, the general manager, Dennis Madden, shared with them both the picture and tale of a pair of women who were traveling from the United Kingdom. They had stopped at the Rose and Crown because it reminded them of their pubs back home. See, I said it gives off a British, Irish pub bar. Even they said it, okay? Anyway, they specifically were drawn to it because there's a pub back home where they lived that even had the same name. So they went there, they're in their travels, having a beer, and they go outside and take a photo of them outside where it says Rose and Crown, which I don't believe, it does not sound like in this story that they were aware that this was a haunted location. It just seemed like they were taking pictures for their family back home to be like, look, they even have it here. That's so cute, which I totally would do as well. So they take a photo, eager of them to share the atmosphere in Canada is mirrored to the same as theirs at home, right? But this was an era prior to digital photography. So it wasn't until a month later that they'd actually seen the photos. So they probably took a little disposable camera pic. And once developed, when they were home, is when they saw in their photo something a little weird. Something that would make me pretty creeped out. And that is the little boy. He is standing beside them. And it looks like he's kind of posing for the camera. Doesn't it? Like, it almost looks as if he's like painted onto that door. Also, you can tell how old this photo is. But no, that is not there, okay? That is not a part of the decor. Never has been, never will be. You know? Well, I never know. But anyway, super, super weird. And I don't know if you guys have ever taken a photo and something was in it that wasn't supposed to be. I can't imagine that being a fun feeling, right? Have you guys ever experienced that? I feel like I'd be mortified, to be honest with you. But here they are. So they thought it was creepy, sent the photo of them with a letter to the staff, asking them if their pub was haunted, and was like, have you guys ever noticed this before? There's a boy in our photo. So Dennis actually wrote them back, and he did relay the story of a little boy. Unknown origin. He is known to be there, just spooking in the background. And mentioned that, yeah, that is probably who is captured on film, this boy that lingers around this area. So the staff themselves of this building have very much embraced the, eerie spirits and legends that, are always around this pub, it seems. It is very much known for being haunted. And so they will do tours and stuff. They will offer it throughout the spooky season. And they have little Halloween themed events and all of that stuff. And they even previously used to put skeletons and weird things in the windows. If people were walking by, they'd purposefully try to lean into it a bit. And they thought that, it would be funny, but the neighbors noticed. And I think it's when I understand why people want it for business. It's great. But when you lean into that, like I said just in my last video, it makes it a bit kitschy. It makes it too, it takes away from it. It takes away from the atmosphere. Like when I was at the Hose and Hound, they leaned into it so much that it wasn't, it was like a little business ploy, it felt like. But when you look back and it's historically, no, they believed it even way back before, then I feel the origin at least is there. But if somebody came out and was like, oh yeah, this has been a thing for long time. I'd be like, you're lying anyway. But after 37 years in business and being known as one of the most haunted pubs, they did shut down their doors for good as of right now. I'm hoping that maybe somebody brings them back. But they announced on social media at the end of, I guess, December last year that they'd be permanently closed. It was just too difficult after COVID, and they really lost a lot of business. They lost a lot of money. It's so sad. Because again, like when I went there, it was bumping, and that was just, gosh, it probably was actually roughly December of last year. So it's such a shame, you know, but yeah. Here's a few tales, specifically from the bartenders that have worked there, the servers. There's a little website here that explains it, which thank God, because I've talked to them all before in the past, and they all fully believed it. They were like, yes, it is a thing. There's nothing worse than, you know, cleaning up for the day and things keep going missing or somebody's lurking in the corner. And again, if I saw something looking at me, I wouldn't be able to go on. Like, I would just lose it. So Al Hunter, who was a longtime bartender that worked at the Rose and Crown during 1988, during the Olympics, had worked there. So at the time, the Banff and Calgary locations of the bar were under the same ownership, and Hunter worked his first shift on the downtown pub March 17th of 1988. And he'd ended up staying there for quite a few years. And he said that there are a few experiences that made him feel bone chilling. So one being the boy, who he called the balloon boy. So he said there was an incident sometime in the late 90s where a group had reserved an area on the second level. Now remember, there's 3 levels. I think the second level is dining, and the third previously used to be where tenants lived when they were operating as a funeral home. So a bunch of helium-filled balloons on a string had been put in the room for decoration when Hunter witnessed the then unthinkable. He stated that he stood there and a balloon had came down the stairs on a string. It went past me, goes down the stairs, and goes into the main bar, then went back out and went down towards the kitchen. He says he watched this happen. So you're just watching a balloon perfectly walk around in a weird way too. Like balloons, they shift, they kind of bob, right? But it was being pulled, he says. So he, confused, watching this happen, grabbed it and put it back. He was like, that was weird. But the exact same balloon did this little trip around the bar several times. So he believes from his other previous experiences that it was probably the little boy excited to play with like a balloon, you know, which is sweet, right? Better than creeping, just looking like, you know, that is much more childlike behavior, right? Honestly, if there was a group of helium balloons, but one and like was being pulled somehow around the bar and back in a specific loop, that's not normal. I would, I'd be thinking that that's a little bizarre, right? So other visitors and employees have also reported, as they stated, the lights being flickered, but also too being tapped on the shoulder is a big one, which no thank you. Shadowy figures are often seen as well, specifically the lady in a white dress and then just an older man who kind of lingers around. Now, at least the lady in a white dress is wearing something prominent. You see her, you know, walking and then she just kind of disappears. But the unnamed man, there really isn't much information on him other than he is nondescript. But what I could find of him is like so unfortunate. The woman, again, an eerie woman floating and disappearing. Spooky. I absolutely hate that. This guy, people believe is Frank, who used to live upstairs when it was a funeral home. And he supposedly, for this ghost, will pinch girls' butts. Yeah. So if you're chilling in this pub, or were chilling in this pub, apparently girls would just have their butts pinched and be like, what was that? And there'd be nothing there. And then they'd like see an ominous, undescript man just disappear. Can you imagine a pervy ghost? So they have a playful boy, a girl that's kind of chilling and creepy, and then a pervy man. Like, what? Yeah, it says, to this day, some women report feeling a pinch as they ascend the staircase connecting the pub onto the second level. That is just so unfortunate. But while I was just reading something that makes me really think the little boy probably was, not necessarily died there, but maybe was a part, like he went through when it was a funeral home, is that where he lingers, the furnace, is where they do cremations, but also, as I was just reading, is where they would do a lot of their embalmings. So there was a big desk there, I guess, and they actually still had a lot of that set up. Not obviously that stuff, but if that's where you see him physically and then he's playing elsewhere, that's probably what it was, right? Hate that. But again, playful boy, ominous, confusing white lady in white dress, perv man. That's what we got for you there. So yeah, you guys, that's what I have for you today for the history and hauntings of the Rose and Crown pub. I'm really sorry I didn't get to go there and like do stuff again. Didn't plan it right, but it is fun to be able to like talk about these spooky things and not have to whisper about them and be like, oh my god. And then like I like having all this stuff flashing up for you too. It's fun. But yeah, that's what I have for you today for the history of the Rose and Crown. Has anyone here been there before? When I went, my experiences were, it wasn't a negative vibe, but I've been to the Hose and Hound before and felt like, a little something, but nothing too bad. Honestly, really nothing. But I would say Rose and Crown definitely has had a vibe to it. It was bumping. It was great. But I'd been there before when it was kind of quieter and it was just a little off-putting. But I mean, maybe that's what all previous crematorium funeral homes feel like. I don't know. I think that there's an energy that death leaves behind. And even if it wasn't there, but just passing through, I think, like, no one feels cozy in a cemetery. So to rebuild a place like that and to still feel that energy, it says a lot, right? I don't know. Leave a comment below on what you guys think of that and what you think of today's video. And yeah, I really look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow because tomorrow's video is a spookier one. It might not even be that spooky for you to watch, but just for me, it was a rough go. But I look forward to you guys all watching that. And yeah, I hope so far you guys have been enjoying the haunted histories and the spookiness and the loudness of me. But as always, thank you guys so much again for joining me today. I hope that you've been enjoying the spooky season. And I look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow for the haunting and history of the Dean House. Thank you guys so much. Like and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. And as always, stay safe and stay spooky. Take care.